Welcome, everybody, to The Longer Game. This is a podcast about retail, and we're live for the first time. I've never been live before. I've never done anything live. My whole life has been pre-recorded, and so now all my flaws are on display for people to see. Thank you for joining me. The podcast that I launched this year, The Longer Game, aims to talk about the future of retail and what retail looks like now. It's reimagined, it's different, and a big part of that is the Amazon sphere. I intentionally tried to bring on a variety of guests because I could talk about Amazon all day, and I don't know how many people actually want to hear that. But today is all about Amazon. So I brought on 3 awesome guests that have already been on the podcast, so they know how it works. And I'm excited to have them because we just get to talk. These are friends of mine and colleagues as well. So I get to talk with them and we get to hang out and shoot the shit. And that's pretty much about it. So I'd just like to thank them for joining me. I'd like to say thanks to Elizabeth Green from Jungler, full-time mom to now helping people on Amazon. She just posted that on LinkedIn today. So that's fresh content. Ryan Kramer, head of marketing at First Choice Shipping, and Brett Bohannon of Amazon with Brett. Thank you guys for joining me. We're here together.
What's up, Michael? What's up, everyone?
Hey, guys.
I see you changed your fish, Brett.
Oh, it's always
been the same fish?
It's always been there. It's always been there.
I've always noticed the fish, but I didn't know if it was a specific fish.
Yeah, it was a fish. We were in Florida a while back with no kids, me and my wife, and we walked into a shop, and I was like, I want that. Had it ever since.
I want that.
Nice.
How nice is it to just be able to walk into a place and say, I want that, and have unlimited money?
Yeah.
That's the Amazon dream, man, right?
All right, so super casual. I really could care less about what we talk about because I'm having a good time. So, and that's really all that matters is pleasing me. I wanted to say a couple things, and actually Ryan and I were chatting earlier this week about some of the things that are happening in Amazon, but also I would say across e-commerce because I've seen this happening. So I'm interested to get people's take on this. One of the things that I think is beneficial for me as an agency owner and being in the sales process with people is not just knowing how Amazon works, but being able to tie that to what's going on in the public sphere of Amazon. So when you see, that they were pulled into antitrust hearings, being able to decipher what that means for them, being able to understand what the e-commerce market is doing. And, oh, wow. So, yeah. So just so you know, Justin and Brett have unlimited money. So that's the first secret that's shared.
Kudos. Teach me your secrets.
Yeah. Justin said he's here for the secrets. And I just said, good, because that's all we have.
There is a huge caveat that no one heard in there. That was before we had kids.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's my problem. That's my problem. There you go.
So the thing that I'm talking about is the fact that there are, just in general, Shopify has announced that they are laying a bunch of people off, and there is now Ryan sent me an article of a big Amazon seller that's laying people off, and it looks like I don't know if these things are totally related, but it seems like there's been a lot more focus on the Amazon sphere, notably because of the amount of venture capital that's come into the space. And I think that it's changed a lot of things. It's changed what the shows look like when you go to a show. It changes who's there. It changes maybe what the private parties or the after parties look like. It changes what CPCs are in advertising because people are spending more money on advertising, and there's no guarantee that they know what they're doing, so they could be artificially driving up costs. I don't think these are the secrets. I just think these are some of I'll give Justin the secrets later, but I think these are the things that actually impact people, and whether, maybe there's unwritten rules that we're not supposed to talk about that. I don't know. I don't have unwritten rules because we do things pretty wildly in my house. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't know if you guys had thoughts about that or if you feel like that's something that you're seeing impact you Elizabeth, I'm sure you could speak to stuff from an advertising perspective, but I'm just curious to know what you guys have to say there.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, things are getting squeezed from a lot of ends. And honestly, I talk to a lot of sellers or, brand owners now, and it's like margins were always important. Like margins should have always been important. Your profits should have always been important, but when you have really low CPCs or conversion rates because you just don't have a lot of competition, you just don't have to look at it. Like you can squeak by with scraping the bare minimum. And just the nature of the platform maturing and the current economic market right now, you have a whole lot less wiggle room. And so that's, I think, what we're seeing. And we're seeing people just looking for ways to navigate that. And I definitely come at it from like an advertising perspective and how does advertising play into, the market on Amazon specifically. That's what I'm seeing is just things are getting tighter. You're having to play a much more sophisticated game. And for those sellers or those brands who have just relied on being, just kind of the OGs in the market, you're no longer getting as much of a benefit. Just being, say, like, there's a lot of sellers, unfortunately, who are like, hey, I've always dominated this category. Why has that changed? And it's like,
Not anymore.
If you go and look at the landscape, your conversion rate is less than the category averages. That Amazon wants to showcase good products to their market. That's what they're all about. Having a shopper have a good customer experience. And you might have a stellar product. You might have put a lot of money into development. But if you haven't kept up with the market and modified your listings to continuously demonstrate to the market that you are the premium OG product, then you're just going to end up falling by the wayside. So I think we're seeing a lot of that now. People just needing to learn to play a more sophisticated game, needing to learn how to dig into and read the numbers. So I've talked to my team a lot, and I'm like, as much as we are like the advertising advisors, I find myself becoming more of like a business advisor. Like your conversion rates, this may not be all, the ads might not necessarily be the problem because we run a tight ship. It's just we need to shift strategy based on what you're seeing with margins, or maybe we can coordinate with brands to help them with their pricing strategy, coupons, other things that impact conversion rates, and then we can leverage ads to help accelerate it.
That's one of the things that in starting an agency, I really loved advertising, and that was one of the actual things that I did for clients when I'm working directly with them on accounts. And there's this aspect of running your own business, which I think, Elizabeth, you're starting to experience, and that's when you start a business, you may start doing work, but what you actually end up growing into is someone that grows a business and not necessarily that specific work. So I'm not doing a bunch of advertising work anymore. In fact, I just stepped back into doing some because there's been so many changes and I want to make sure I'm current. Like the idea and the strategy behind it, I don't think is different, but the tools that you have to get there are different. And so you're starting to move into a realm where you're not doing all of the things, and there's a lot of things that are changing and you want to stay current and up to date on that, but you're getting to a place where you're now focusing on growing the business and directing the people. So I think that's always an interesting part of owning and running a company. And then part of the reason why I decided not to just do advertising was because I felt like, maybe we'd be shortchanging people if we weren't focusing on some of these other aspects. So it sounds like coupons, pricing, all those kinds of things are things that you're starting to incorporate and include as a part of services. And you're just saying, hey, well, it helps us do what we're doing right now. So why wouldn't we offer that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So I don't think we might end up offering those services later on. Prices touch a whole lot of things, like what's your cost of goods ships, and it would like unravel a can of worms that I have no problem, kind of helping buyers or sellers navigate that. And what we've actually done is I'm currently like paying for tools out of my pocket that help us give more sophisticated insights to our sellers. So that's kind of how I'm navigating that. And like, hey, you know, because you'll get those questions all the time, like, because the benefit of running advertising is you can get like definite numbers. I'm like, what's the cost per clicks on this one, like on our main keyword? What's our click-through rates change? Like how are our conversion rates change? And you can see in very specific areas of the market how that changed, where if you're looking at business reports, it's very much kind of like an aggregate of everything. So advertising definitely can give you insights into maybe some changes that you're making on your listings, which is phenomenal. But it also means that a lot of times sellers will change prices and then they're asking us like, hey, how did that perform? Can we get insights on that? And so what we've done is I've just gone out and partnered with a tool provider called KPOC, and they give us like really sophisticated insights into how is our advertising spend looking according to sessions, and how is our advertising conversion rate versus, you know, like your unit session percentage, and being able to like see in a continuous chart, like, okay, so here's all the things that touch sales. Here's the things that, you know, here's how sales have changed, and allows us to dig into that. And then also see on that same line, like how the product margins are doing. So for instance, there's a lot of sellers that say like, okay, my sales are down, but are your margins better or are they worse? Because it's very often you might have them like less sales, but technically money in the bank went up.
Sales are very sexy. They're sexy because they create taglines like 7-figure, 8-figure. And I'm not saying if I'm an 8-figure or 7-figure seller, I probably would use that to my advantage as well, because it means more money is being brought in. But what actually pays the bills is your profitability, because if you don't keep any money in your bank account, you could get $100,000 put in your bank account, but if 98 comes right back out, you know, there's not a lot that's keeping you in business. Is it really worth it? And so that profitability piece is something that I feel is super important. And if you're not honing in on that, you may have an incredible rank and you've got the bestseller badge and you got all this stuff, but you're not actually making that much money. What is it worth to you other than boosting your pride? And I boosted my own pride. It feels good, you know, sometimes to do that, but ultimately, is it really helping you that much if you're not profitable, if you're not keeping money in your bank account?
Yeah, I would say yes. And then on the flip side of that, there are some products, because the margins are so low, it's a game of volume. And if you drop off on volume, then you're in trouble. So, you know, it's honestly, our job is learning how to read the data, interpret it, and help sellers make strategic decisions based on that. And then just, you know, us navigating, building out the ad piece so they can say directives like, hey, we need to push this product, we need to pull back here. And then instead of having to go in and, you know, change the levers and nuts and bolts on the ads, we just come in with that, and, you know, we do all the above.
You're going and looking at conversion rate on products. Okay. Not just the ads conversion rate, but you're looking at the actual product conversion rate.
Absolutely.
Brett, Ryan, speak
sir.
words into life, into existence.
What do you want to talk about, man?
I want you to talk about what you're seeing happening in the grander scheme of things in Amazon. And to frame it, I think a lot of people that are on here know a lot about Amazon, but Amazon makes up about 40% of the e-commerce revenue that's available in the US. And it's, last time I checked, e-commerce was like 16. It grew to 20% at the end of the pandemic, but then kind of leveled out at about 16% of total retail sales. And one of the interesting things is digital only sales is not something that has grown linearly across all demographics. The thing that is actually increased across anyone from baby boomers to Gen Z, which I'm also kind of like, these arbitrary names for generations just seem so silly. And technically I'm a millennial, but I like kind of hate that, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm a millennial. But that's the conversation I'll have with my therapist. I don't have to talk with you guys about that. It's probably not as interesting. But the thing that I think is interesting is in-store plus digital sales is what has actually grown across all demographics and less people. There's actually, if you look at the change from millennial to Gen Z, the digital only actually decreased a little bit. So people that are only shopping digital has gone down a couple percentage points, but the people that are doing both that's grown. And so to me, when I see things like that, or I hear how there's a gentleman named John Casey used to work with Snap 36, a really big photography company, is based in, I think, Seattle, and they maybe had an office in Chicago too, not sure, but they were some of the first people to do 360 photos. And they had a case study that talked about how a bug spray company added a 360-degree photo to their product detail page on Amazon. And you think, okay, bug spray, like it either kills the bugs or it doesn't. I don't really care what the can looks like. I don't care what the name is. I just want to know the efficacy of it. But they added a 360-degree photo to their product detail page, and conversion rates went up 10%. To me, that says people want a more tactile experience. And even though they want to shop online and they want the convenience of that, they also want to experience things as much in person as possible, which is why I think the in-store and digital advertising or digital purchases have gone up in conjunction with each other. And we see things like Wayfair having in their app, they have a VR component where you can look at a couch in your room, or you can look at a piece of furniture in your room. And so I think all those things speak to people wanting to have a tactile experience. And so Amazon's going to continue to be super important. But I think the retail landscape in general is changing towards really providing a great experience. Amazon is no longer, it is still very product focused because people are purchasing super quickly. 28% of people purchase in 3 minutes or less, but Amazon is favoring brands and giving them more opportunities. So just to set that for people who are watching, all 10 of you, just know that Amazon's a big part of what's happening, but it's still not the end all be all. But Ryan, I'm curious because you and I had talked earlier in the week, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but it's something that I think is worth noting, that things are changing quickly.
Yeah, and I apologize if there's a lot of baking in the background. There's work being done in my house.
No, I can't hear anything.
Perfect. I've been playing with audio settings this whole time, so one of us is trying to be a pro over here, a professional. So,
this episode is brought to you by Topo Chico with lime.
Man, you need to have a sponsor for this.
I do. Look, I got a free shirt. Ecom Engine. They're not a sponsor, but I just said thanks for the free shirt.
There's a lot of good things going on at Ecom Engine. There's actually a quick plug for a thing that we're sponsoring. It's actually a seller awards that's going on. So we're trying to promote the a great brand that's really growing in the space right now. I can send you guys details later, but we're trying to give scholarships to brands and help them grow and recognize them. Like, hey, your industry sees you as a really good player for agencies and things like that. So anyways, speaking of Ecom Engine, shout out to Colleen and that team over there. We were talking about the other day, the huge news broke that Farm Packs, they were number 5, number 1 last year for US sellers, number 5 in the world, or in the US as of recent. They are liquidating all their inventory, and then they are going to actually be going out of business. And I posted that article online, and the surprise in the responses I got from people were actually pretty phenomenal. People selling goods to Farm Packs, and like, in the last couple months, they weren't paying paying bills to us for inventory. Wow. And it was just like a really sad and unfortunate thing. But Michael, you and I were talking about Farm Packs is actually technically a reseller, if I'm correct, and to a major component, they rely heavily on inventory, just like the rest of us, but other people's inventory, not their own. They don't own the supply chain. They don't own their own goods. They are buying and selling at wholesale, selling at retail, and just have a really good ecosystem. So because they don't have control of that, financial obligations, and again, I don't know their numbers. I can only assume from October when they're going to go public versus where we are here in almost a year later. It's really sad to see the turn and how much inventory plays on a brand such as one of the largest ones on the Amazon marketplace space.
That and to Elizabeth's point, margins.
Right. Exactly.
If the prices are going up, margins are definitely going down. And if you're not raising prices, which Amazon's doing when it comes to fees are going up, I think, maybe another 20-25%. Ryan, I've seen you post about that on LinkedIn as well.
That's right.
So like things are changing. If you're not working around that, which ultimately the cost ends up going to the consumer. There's all kinds of economics 101. That's going to be the episode 1 of season 2, is we're just going to talk about economics.
Make math work for you. Well, and it's funny because you alluded to something else recently too. The fulfillment fees actually have gone up 30% in the last 2 years. Very incrementally, but they've gone up in the past 2 years 30%. That doesn't mean a lot to a lot of sellers, but it looks like like $1 or $2 for people. But at scale, that really does add up when you have to recoup that in other ways. Whether if you're playing the pricing game on Amazon, which is really difficult to do. If you're playing very thin margins, which a lot of people are struggling with, especially getting inventory, costs are going up.
I don't think people even know what all costs they're dealing with, because the reporting is not super intuitive. And when you look at the thing I always struggle with as when I was a seller on Amazon is I try to close out my books at the end of the month, but Amazon's on a bi-weekly system, so it never lined up perfectly. And so I had to work with my accountant and bookkeeper to like figure that out. And I was the one that was inputting a lot of the transactions myself just to save money. And it was frustrating because it didn't always line up. And it was like, oh man, I had a great December, but that actually didn't show up until January because that's when I got my payment.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's something too with cash flow. We're going back to the other major component of this is cash flow. So if Farm Packs has all this, and they were selling $1.3 million, $1.4 million this year in terms of revenue per day of inventory. So if you're talking about at scale where cash flow is coming and it's getting tied up in inventory, or it's getting tied up and you're not getting it at 2 weeks, and getting it 2 weeks, maybe not a week for some lucky sellers. At scale, that's just really hard to manage volume like that if you're not used to it. So Farm Packs has been around a while. I mean, they started retail, they moved to Amazon. Everyone knows the great story there, but it's really sad just like how quickly, numbers don't work in your favor when you're constantly reevaluating every month or every quarter, every, for in cases of PPC every week. I'm assuming for you, Elizabeth, make sure that things don't get out of hand crazily. But there's competition and there's ways for people to still find growth and be successful on Amazon. It's just very interesting to see the pivots of, you said VC money coming into the space. A lot of people are actually turning to a retail now and looking for shelf life. Was that $1 billion seller summit this past week in Austin, Texas, and you would be shocked to see the amount of conversations of people talking about, hey, how do we take our brand and move to retail? How do we take our online brand that is established and has a value, and we can get into a Walmart or a Wayfair or that's an online marketplace, but like Target retail stores still has a major footprint and hold in the United States, especially, as well as the world. So e-commerce is still growing at pace. We're not seeing the same trajectory as we did right after the pandemic.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, overall, it's number one goal. And I think I jokingly said I would fight anyone who said that inventory is not the number one thing, that if you don't have it on lock, that you will be going out of business. I don't care how good your PPC is or how good your listing is, or your A+ content, anything like that. If you don't have inventory at scale on lock and you have a good plan in place, your business will tank, and it will cost you way more money or your business.
Those are the secrets, people. You have now been led into the club of the secrets and the secret sauce, and how the secret sauce is made. And it's made with margins and fish things on the back of your wall.
No, I just want to second, third, and fourth what Ryan was saying about inventory. So important. And I know, especially it's better now, but when everyone was dealing with like supply chain issues and that was like an absolute disaster, there's people just hanging on for dear life. But as somebody who manages ads and deals with a lot of like re-ranking situations or product launches, when you run out of an inventory for a significant amount of time, I don't care how dialed in your PPC was before you went out, when you come back in, it is
always more.
It's like a relaunch scenario.
Yeah.
And a lot
exactly.
of times we're asked, like, why aren't we doing, you know, like our 15 or 20% ACoS the way we were before we went out of stock? And it's like, hey, look, you lost out on, you know, we're starting at square one essentially. Sometimes you can bounce right back, you know, sometimes if the market is right, if the product is right, the listing is right, it does happen, but I would say most of the time it doesn't. And so if you can just completely, I know it's stressful and it's hard, but if you can possibly avoid that scenario altogether, that actually will do more to win long term than having the best, like Ryan was saying, the best listing, the best PPC.
So we're talking about Amazon and how it's playing into current economics and looking at how it's a part of the changing retail scene for anyone who's joining us throughout the broadcast. And I just want to say my whole mission in putting out this podcast, it was not about being the number one podcast, or I mean, like if we became number one at something, I would love that. That would be great. But the goal for me was about getting a lot of different varied perspectives. I think to use a word that's used a lot, diversity. I think the diversity of thought is so crucial, and we need people that are looking at things from different sectors. And I had an incredible guy on the show named Ron Thurston, and he is like 100% retail, all, you know, in store. And he's just talked so much about how the people that are on the front lines that are often not treated well or not paid well, or, you know, it's like, well, you're working, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those are the busiest days. They're the ones that are the face of the company, and you're relying upon them. Like if you work at Nordstrom and you're not treated well, you could treat some customers badly and they don't come back, and you're relying upon those people. So it's there's a lot of different perspectives that are out there that I think actually make retail what it is. So that's where we're at in the conversation. Brett, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what everyone said. If you don't have product, can't sell anything. You know, I've seen it with a lot of different companies, and some that you would think that would have everything kind of in line in regards to inventory management. But a lot of them, you know, there's good problems, you know, usually when they're selling so fast and they need to allocate product to different channels. That's a good problem. And then there's bad problems where, you know, they send in, you know, especially in the CPG side, where they send in lot codes that only have like a month or two to Amazon. So, you know, those are kind of all the problems with inventory that, you know, certain different categories definitely play around with.
When you're launching too, you only have so much inventory to start with. People don't start with unlimited inventory anymore. You start with 1,000 units is what we've seen with every account we've launched this past year.
Yeah, and that was a fun one when they like lassoed that all back the last couple of years. I was going to say,
are people dealing with inventory limits when they launch now?
Yes.
Oh, when they launch, yeah.
When they launch, for sure. If you perform well, you can go back to being unlimited. But yeah, it's when you start, it doesn't matter how much money you're willing to put into it. It's 1,000, and then they change it. I've heard people say that you can get an exception if you reach out to someone, and it might take some time, but it's possible. But I wouldn't rely upon that, because, you know, seller support may or may not come through in that area. So yeah, it just really depends upon how that first quarter goes, and then when you get inventory lifted, and then you can go back to whatever unlimited status you might have.
Well, I'll throw another ripple in there too for you guys just to add on to it. It's different for every brand, no matter what marketplace you're selling in. So we're actually seeing sellers who are really big in US have their inventory limits limited and actually drop in like Canada, for example. So it depends. You're almost taking like that step and even a step farther and like squeezing them to figure out, okay, it's not same across the board. Demand's different in Canada versus the United States. I get that. But why am I dropping when I'm still selling very well there? What they're rewarding, like we said, is we're seeing a lot more people have to send in fewer items, but more frequently. And they don't. Amazon used to not like it sit there, but now all of a sudden they have space. So it's kind of like oh, never mind. We want your space. We want inventory. Put it in here so we can get some sort of money or fulfill through buy with Prime, things like that. So it's a good thing, but it pivots at a quick, like instantaneous moment for brands, and that's very stressful for people. We've heard that stressors, and all of a sudden on our end, we see, why are you slowing down in this lane? You were doing very well, and what's changed? Sales down? What's like? No, we just can't send anymore there. Like we want to, we would send more inventory if we could, but they won't let us. So it's a brand by brand, case by case basis. It's nuts.
Yep. One thing I always like to do too when they limit that inventory is, if you exceed that and your sales are just going well, and you can't keep up with getting it out, is have that parachute. And what I mean by that is just have that FBM option. It's a condition that you can put on any listing, and it's I call it the just in case condition. Just in case if you sell out of all your FBA products, you'll have FBM. It's not going to convert as high. That's for darn sure. But at least you're still there for someone to buy it when you kind of figure out all these issues. Another thing with profitability is, in established brands, when they get into kind of different marketplaces and prices are even go up these days and whatnot, some of those marketplaces are going to take a little longer to raise those prices. You're going to have some, suppressed buy boxes on Amazon for some of these brands. What I did recently with a brand, and it worked really well. Here's a secret for everyone: is hard bundle those products, and basically, if you can hard bundle those products and have them within the same size requirement as that other one, you're only getting that same fee, but your AOV is a lot higher. So you're going to have a margin that's going to be significantly higher as well.
Well, that's a play for a lot of CPG, especially food brands, who their item might be, just from a cost perspective, their item might be, $3, but you can't sell something for $3. So they have to package it into maybe like a 6-pack. And now they can sell it for $18 or $15 if you want to give people a discount, but it's not a ton more space or volume. And so your margins are actually better in that way. And one of the things that I think a lot of food and beverage brands struggle with is, someone wants to try your product, they don't maybe know what flavor or what size they want to try. And so I've heard this hands down, and any food CPG brand that I've ever done an audit on their account, their number one selling product is a variety pack. So having a variety pack and hard bundling those together is how you get people to try your products and even see that they like them. And that's the way that, like, people still want to test stuff, but the way that they go about testing is just going to be different. They're not going to buy one individual one because they realize they could just go to the store to do that, or pick it up as an extraneous item.
Yeah, a low price point barrier to entry to try the product is very crucial. Especially if no one really knows the brand.
You're crucial.
I try to be.
You like that? Your mom's stuff gets passed along at my house very often, and my daughter is doing it now, and she's 9, and sometimes it's like, oh man, I don't think your mom really wanted you to say that. So actually, your mom's stuff, I think, was outlawed for a little while, but it's come back, and I'm loving it. Your mom's loving it, and I'm like, yeah, that's your grandma. Your mom's slow. Yeah, that's your grandma. You're saying your grandma's slow. Do you want to call her and tell her that? We don't. But
Michael, I'm curious for you. Like, I'm gonna ask a question to the host here. What are people asking more from an agency side? Like, you guys are fielding all these different questions, inquiries, things like that. What do brands want to do moving forward, like in the end of this year, like goals, things like that?
Honestly, we've taken on a lot of brands that are new to Amazon, and they're funded so they can actually put money into advertising. And that's one of the things, as you just evolve, especially as a business owner, you start out with maybe smaller clients who are just willing to do small projects here and there. Then you start taking on people that are willing to, retain you for multiple months, and they're looking to. Then you're able to look to clients who are able to pay more because your services are more valuable. You've got more of a team. You've got all this additional collateral that you can bring to the table. And this is something that I heard a guy named Keenan. That's his only name that's on LinkedIn. but he is a sales dude, I will say. And his whole, one of the things that he talks about, and I say this to clients, or even prospects, when you hire a service agency or someone to help you, people talk a lot about adding value. And that's actually not true. So when someone hires us, we don't inject 20 grand or 50 grand of capital into your business. We're taking money from you. What we're doing is helping to uncover the value that is, if your product is great, already inherent in your brand. And if your product is inherently good, we can help turn that into something that can generate revenue on Amazon. So that's what we're doing. And people are asking us to do that, but they're asking right now, especially people that are new, they just want to grow and they want to scale. But something we've seen with some of the brands that we've been able to bring on, their leadership is saying we need to get profitable right away. And it instantly kills the brand, because people think, I'm going to get on Amazon and there's so many sales and it's just going to grow. Well, yeah, here's a secret. Getting sales on Amazon in advertising, it's not difficult, but getting sales that are worth getting is. And that's where the execution comes into it. More secrets for Justin Wilhite. Go to amazonsecrets.com and you can find
you better Google that first to make sure
it's not. I have no idea. I have no idea if that is something.
Quick, buy the domain.
So the thing that people are asking us is to grow, but they're very conscious of, hey, I can only fund this project for this long, or leadership is telling us that we need to get profitable right away. And one of the other big issues has been supply chain issues. And sometimes it's not, we can't, it's like, hey, this one ingredient isn't happening, or this company that we're working with, they're having a really hard time getting our product shipped out the door because they're not running efficiently. So when you have, in a normal market, I think when there's not a bunch of supply chain issues or other economic issues that are affecting you, when you have a company that sucks at what they do, you just go to another company. But now those companies that suck make it even harder, because they're making a more difficult situation even more difficult. So, I mean, I would say we have brands, some of the brands that we've been working with. We have a brand that we launched on Amazon 3 years ago, and he's now saying, how do we double our sales? So we've gotten him to a really profitable place. He's grown maybe 10, 15% every year, but he's got a 30% profit margin. And that's, when I say profit margin, we tell people how profitable they are on the channel. So that means, what are Amazon's referral fees? What are your fulfillment fees? What are your ad fees? And what are our fees? So, sorry, I can't really put my fourth finger up without my fifth finger coming up. But the profitability should include what our fees are, because if you're not profitable with our fees, you're not profitable across the channel. And if you're looking at it as a branding play, well, then that's a different story. But I think it's sales and profitability. How do we grow? But how do we also get profitable? Because a lot of people I've heard say we're at a crucial point right now where we have to generate revenue. We have to or generate profitability. We have to put money into our bank account.
Goes back to cash flow, man. Inventory and cash flow. It all comes back. And I think I think too, Michael, is the other question that I was, or something I've noticed too. We've seen a lot of people who figure out a lot of the retail space, and it is a lot of that question of how do you figure out Amazon, and how do you figure out their multiple markets? Because again, it's now 20. It's going to continuously grow. I think it's secretly out there that there's 4 more markets that are coming into place. So it's not going anywhere, but it's a marketplace that people have to figure out. So what is it that, is it just going to be .com, or is it going to be a different marketplace that people have to start looking at in the Amazon channels that I can start to make my margins really work for me, whether my competition's not there, no one's like trying to black at me in the United States. They're not trying to subvert my inventory or my supplier from me. A lot of those things we're seeing people really try to pivot in those ways too, not just off of Amazon, but within Amazon's own ecosystem. So it's really fascinating that people are trying to like spread out and almost find their own little corner of the world, and kind of like hold tight there and make it profitable as much as as long as they can until someone else figures it out. And
Well,
then
and let's be honest too, Amazon's promoting the new marketplaces. That doesn't mean that the demand is totally there. Just like Amazon sends you, hey, your campaign is out of budget. And part of our onboarding with clients, whether they listen to it or not, I don't know, is, hey, you might get some out of budget requests on your advertising. That's normal. Amazon doesn't send those to you based on the return you're getting. Wow, you're getting a 3-to-1 return. You should really turn on your campaigns more. It's simply, you've spent all your money. If you want to spend more money, we recommend it, of course. Why wouldn't you? That's how you create a $31 billion ad business, is by encouraging people to spend money. And I believe in the advertising system. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, it's not always altruistic in nature. And I think a lot of people, know and understand that. But it's about how, it's about, hey, how do we get more people to join in on this? Well, we have to get more people to get excited about it. And so we send people in these areas. But some of the biggest things, I think, getting overseas into other countries, in Canada, there's just not a ton of demand. So there's opportunity there. And if there is demand for your product, you can come in and perform really well. But I think the expectation is that it's going to be another US, and it's not even close to that. But the other two marketplaces, like UK and Germany's second behind the $310 billion US platform at like 37 billion. And then the UK is, I think, 32 billion. This is all 2021 numbers. But
yeah, actually, Japan has subverted both of those marketplaces now.
Japan has passed both of them. Do you know what they're at currently?
The visibility, or both the page views as well as shopping, has surpassed now UK and Germany.
But
I think of recently,
Japan has had better viewability for a long time, because I remember when I was selling on Amazon Japan several years ago, they were saying, hey, we've got 2 million people coming to the site every day or something like that. But how many people are actually buying product? It takes time to get that stuff to catch on.
Yeah, how long is the EU market? It's been 2017, 16 maybe? Like when it first came on board?
No, it's been, the EU market's been around, because I launched over there when I was selling
early
product.
2010s, yeah.
It was like 2012, 13.
Yeah. Because I remember
right.
in 2016 we were kind of looking at doing it, and the whole deal was there's less volume, but there's less competition.
And here's crazy. What's crazy is I was not even using Prime in those areas. Yeah. I was fulfilling from and getting sales. I was fulfilling stuff from the US, which is crazy to think about now. By the way, everyone's looking sharp, says Srinath Reddy.
Nice. I would say over the multiple other markets, from the outside looking in, as someone who just runs the advertising but has seen kind of the conversion rates needed for over there. Yes, the competition is a lot lower, but if you're doing decent sales in the US and you haven't fully locked down your supply chain, your replenishment, your cash flow in the US, do that first before you go overseas. Because you could say okay, if I sell across the entire EU, maybe I'm doing UK, maybe I'll tie in Germany, maybe I'll do Italy and Spain for good measure. Your listings need to be market specific. Your inventory needs to be on point. You have different inventory levels across all, you need to work on replenishments, and each of them is going to have their own cash flows. If you take your eyes off the ball of the US, which is the one probably sustaining you move into those other markets, how solid are you going to be? And are you going to slip in the US? And dollar for dollar, I did an evaluation for one of our clients. They kept saying hey, we need to focus on you, focus on you, focus on you. And so we were doing that from an ads perspective, but we weren't as focused on launching new things or doing more creative advertising in the US, simply because we had been given that focus. And it's a lot of times what I'm learning as an advertiser is I need to be comfortable saying, this is probably not the best for your business, even though you're telling me you need to do it. Because when we did the evaluation, I'm talking about every single market in all the other markets, adding Canada and Mexico for good measure. It's not that they shouldn't be selling there. It's that made up 8% of, $1 million business. And 8% is not a thing to sneeze at, but you have to focus on that. That's spread over 8 different marketplaces.
That's one of the things that hurt my business, and why in 2016, when I had a couple products that were selling really well and majority of my sales on Amazon, which was 70% of my sales, why my business crashed. And it was because I was launching a brand that was in a very saturated market. It was in the fitness and like equipment market. And we were just reselling a lot of stuff, but I was really putting a lot of effort into this brand. And then when stuff with regarding to Amazon, which was majority of our sales, Amazon opened up the marketplace to China in 2015, and all the manufacturers were coming in and selling my product at my price point from them. So they were selling it at a wholesale price point, and I didn't have the cash to say, oh, well, people will come back around and realize we're going to have better customer service and we're going to stand behind the product more. No, people went immediately to the other price, and I wasn't paying attention to looking at complaints from customers and saying, oh, okay, well, someone complained about this in the feedback. I'm going to make adjustments so that we can hopefully get better reviews. I was like, oh, well, that's just user error. Well, it doesn't matter if it's user error or not. If someone doesn't like it and they want to say this thing smells like poop, whether it does or not, they can say that. I actually remember reading a review when I was doing research recently, and there was someone who was putting a review on like a vegan protein bar. That's just a common example I'll use in like a presentation or something, is vegan protein bar. And this person said something like, man, this tasted good, but it gave me the worst gas ever. It smelled like a World War II battlefield was like falling behind me. And I just thought that was hilarious. And it was a 1 out of 5 star review. And you think this makes no sense. Who knows what else is going on in this person's diet? And they left it. Amazon left up I remember I was selling iPhone 3 cases when I was selling on Amazon, which is crazy. And it took me like years I had to donate those to like a Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul, because no one would take them because they were so old, and they looked stupid, even some of the cases that we had. But someone left a comment on an iPhone 4 listing that said, man, this didn't fit my phone at all. My iPhone 3 is not fitting into this. It was totally the wrong case. And we complained about it, and Amazon said it's their opinion. So
yeah, I think what it comes down to is the shiny object syndrome. It's just, it's just chasing things. And Amazon, it comes up with new things all the time. And they're not bad, but it's just everyone kind of sees them come out and they're like, oh, I want to go do that. I need to go do this. I need to go do that.
I guess I feel like what's more important, and I would say I've fallen subject to or prey to the shiny object syndrome even this year. Like just this week, I've said, okay, like we're changing course on what we're doing. We're dropping a lot of the extra things we're doing, and we're just going to keep going hard into really helping brands grow on Amazon really well. Like that's the focus. That's what's bringing in money. That's what we're going to focus on. So it's easy to get distracted by that. But what's more important, is it the fact that, you're able to say, hey, look at this shiny new thing, and you're announcing it to people? Or is it just doing the basics over and over and over again? I think if you're focusing on one of those things, I know what I'm going to pick, because I know it's going to continue to bring in money and is going to help get people profitable. The shiny stuff, while it's nice and it's interesting, it takes time to be proven.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, I thought about this the other day. Actually, it's like all of us have so many different strategies and tactics to use, like if we were to help a client. But it's like, how many of those would actually fall into place like the first month? It's kind of like where they all kind of sit. It's interesting if you like look back and go, oh wow, I've had this client for, let's just say 3 years. That's a good tenure of having a client on Amazon. And you just never run out of things that you can do. But those things that maybe you do in the third year, you would never even touch in the first year, but it's in your tool belt, and you have it in your tool belt, and you're going to sit there and be like, when they're ready, I know that they're going to be ready. And I think that's super important for service providers and people in this space to identify when an account or a brand is ready to like implement that particular strategy, because if you do, it could just blow the whole thing up, and then maybe their inventory is gone, and then they're just kind of starting from square one.
Yeah, I would echo that too. What Brett said. I think anyone come to us at First Choice and says, "Oh yeah, I'm looking to start on sell on Amazon and I want to do all 20 marketplaces," I'd say you're crazy. Go away. I would say you're going to be out of business quicker than we can even help you. And that's the thing with us is, I think in the space, a lot of people are trying to do. It used to be that I want to do this quickly. I want to do it effectively. I want to do it as quick as I can, as fast as I can, make my money and leave. And now, and that even kind of like reared its head in the last 2 years. I want to come in, for example, buy a lot of brands. I want to scale these brands quickly, effectively, while the e-commerce market is hot. And then I want to bail, and I want to like sell those brands, or I want to like turn a profit. It's almost like buying the house and flipping the house. And not many people, when they got stuck with these assets, they're like, okay, well, I guess we need to take some time, understand what we have here, and start making some sort of, logistical business out of this. Not just hey, you're doing really well, we can take what you're doing and replicate that, but also grow it because we have money. Like, that's just not a cut and dry scenario here, because there's all these curveballs that get thrown at with terms of services changing, how you rank products, how you can ask for reviews, how you can launch products, what's in and out of your ecosystem. So it's understandably so. It's very frustrating for brands, but I think a lot of people who have like waited it out, they understand and have finally know what it takes. I think that there's going to see this next year and a half. I think you're going to see a lot of this wave coming right back of a lot of people who are picking up steam with it, with more capital, more brands who are not on Amazon coming on Amazon and trying to figure out this e-commerce, retail, and wholesale play, like the three major pillars you need for a successful multi-billion-dollar business.
Okay, so here's some more secrets, people. We've got so many secrets. I mean, I don't even know that people can possibly contain the secrets. And one of the secrets is that people are trying to come in and figure out Amazon. That's what Ryan said. And here's a secret. I've been working with Amazon for a decade or more. I'm still trying to figure out Amazon. There is so much to wade through that even the experts have a lot to get through. And I don't even call myself an expert, because I mean, I have a lot of accumulated knowledge about Amazon, but there's so many different things that are out there that I know how to really help brands grow. That's what my focus is. And so there's a lot of components that go into that, but my team has to, speaking about owning and running a business, my team has to be better at advertising than I ever was, because they're the ones that are doing it every day. I'm not the one that's doing it every day. My team that it works on advertising or that are uploading flat files and in inventory, and like, they're doing way more than I ever could. And that's great. But you have to, you can just go so deep in so many different places. So actually saying, I'm an expert on all things Amazon. Well, no, I am either very knowledgeable or I can help find the answers, but that doesn't mean I can just recall everything. So I honestly think that is one of the secrets. People are still trying to figure it out. And so when you see a bunch of, I think people that are, like to Ryan's point, they're buying up brands and they're wanting to scale them. It sounds cool. And it sounds like, yeah, well, that makes sense. We're going to put money behind it. But if you don't know how it works, if you don't know what's going on, and I think a lot of the venture capitalists that have come in that were well-intended are realizing, wow, there's a lot of roadblocks, and we need to hire people that can actually are worth their weight in selling product on Amazon. They're realizing that they're coming up short, and part of that's because there's such a lack of talent that actually knows and understands Amazon, which is why, Brett, you're doing the whole Amazon with Brett thing. You've started that because people need training, and they can't just take a course because things change so often and so frequently. Talk about that. Talk about what you're doing and how that's actually impacting people.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it all came about. Is just kind of eyeing the evolution of the whole entire space over the past, I've been involved since 2016. But the evolution, there was no just a PPC service provider agency. Like, it was, I mean, Michael, you and I think you too, Ryan, we did everything. I've done everything. Like, I've had my hand in.
You want me to write copy? Sure, I'll write copy for you.
No, but yeah, exactly. I mean, I write copy for my clients. I do. But so what I've seen is that there's an influx of people coming in going, I can help you. I can do this. There was, and there probably still is, a supply and demand issue and the supply is good service providers that can help clients. I mean, I've been in the agency side. I helped develop a large agency, and we had a lot of clients, and we it just wasn't there for anyone to basically get what they needed in the space, client wise. So there's always need for more education in this space, and that's kind of what Amazon with Brett is all about, is just being able to provide value to people. I like courses. I don't take too many of them because I'm a horrible self-learner. So I like to be involved with other people. So that's the main thing with Amazon Brett. It's like a cohort style. So it's like me, a group of people, and we're just jamming out. We talk about the basics, we talk about everything, and then we can just go off into the space and talk about whatever else you'd like.
Well, the cohort style is important because it provides that group learning and group conversation together, which I think is huge.
I'll add this too, for anyone who's out there that is new to the Amazon space and you're listening to, like Michael said, the tens of people are listening to this right now, which will be more obviously later on. It's Friday afternoon, guys. Let's be serious. People are hard at work right now and they're trying to figure it out. But if you're a new seller and you're listening to this, the thing I can constantly tell you, and I think a lot of us everyone in this room will say, is if you have an advisor or an agency that is either not actively selling on Amazon or helping people actively sell on Amazon, or B, they're not figuring out ways to constantly learn. They're like, oh, and by the way, this tactic back in 2017 is what I still use today. You have to ask the question why. If they can't give you an answer why, like how is it updated, then they're probably not a good fit for you, like as an advisor, an agency, or someone who's like teaching a course. I know
we've had clients come to us and say, why are we doing this now? Why are we changing strategies? And we've said, look, things change on Amazon, and what we've been doing, we don't think that's the way to move forward. So we're making adjustments. The client didn't say, well, you should have done this before. They just said, okay. Right. That's how you figure it out. You say, okay, well, we're doing this and we're realizing this isn't working anymore. Just trying to rank for this one keyword is not actually helping us because we're spending so much money. In the category like beauty, there's so much competition in beauty. So you might try to rank for one keyword. If it's got enough demand, you could drop money for months. And we've seen clients in the beauty space that don't get profitable. It takes them a year to get profitable, which some people can't sustain. They don't have the money to do that. So you have to be smart, and you have to look at other ways to influence sales on the product or send traffic, which is why I think a lot of people are looking to influencer marketing. We're building that out right now. What does influencer marketing look like? And I'm not wanting to go after macro influencers. I want to go after micro influencers because they're more authentic, they're real, and I think people will believe in and listen to them. So there's a lot of new stuff that is shiny, but you have to figure out what's going to actually work. And when it does work, you have to change. You can't just keep saying, oh, I just, keep 200 characters. I'm going to stuff the hell out of this title and get as much as I can out of it. It's like, okay, well, how does that look? Well, some of it is just appearance too. Like this, it looks spammy. It doesn't look good. And I don't need a piece of data to tell me, oh, this looks good or it doesn't look good. I can tell this looks terrible, and I wouldn't want to put this on a listing, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's a living, breathing organism that we're all like working with on a daily basis, no matter like if it's PPC or like listings or shipping logistics or anything like that. Yeah, it's breathing heavily in your ear constantly and keeping you up at night. I can't anymore.
Oh, that's good stuff.
But
I'm gonna make a plea. What Michael said: if anyone's doing outside traffic to Amazon, please use the brand referral bonus program. There's so many things on LinkedIn that I've seen. Oh, look at this! What I've done! It did $100,000 in sale or whatever. I'm like, did you use the brand referral bonus program? And that's not a secret. That's what you should be doing.
You could have gotten 10%. You could have gotten even more depending on what they're giving you. One of the things I want to say to everyone that's out there, sorry, Brett, is that if you go to the Longer Game website and you sign up for the email list, we'll share that with Elizabeth Green of Jungler, with Ryan Kramer First Choice Shipping, and Brett Bohannon of Amazon with Brett. And we'll give you, they'll be able to send cool stuff to you, but we'll also send you a one-pager just on the future of retail that gives you some insight into some of the things that we're talking about. I just wanted to mention that, so go and sign up for the email list.
I like the plug.
You can go back to saying words now, Brett.
Oh, I'm done. That was a beautiful plug.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different. There's so much to talk about here that sometimes I have to filter out what I'm saying to someone, which is why, I know Amazon really well, but I didn't know how to actually sell my services super well. So I had to hire someone to help me. And I think that's one of the things that people are starting to realize in the Amazon world is someone just comes in, and I think people are well-meaning when they're saying, "Oh, we can help you with Amazon," because it's that entrepreneurial spirit of we're going to figure this out and we'll do this. But when someone's used to doing PPC on AdWords and they come into Amazon and they're not taking into consideration that how visible the listing is organically can be impacted by advertising sales. And so they're instantly not seeing a campaign that's got a 10-to-1 ROAS, and so they're turning it off, or 10% ACOS. I don't really like ACOS, and we don't like talk about that a lot with clients because I just don't think it's the number one. We're looking more at ROAS, if I'm honest, but I just don't think the hype of. I have a friend, he and I would always talk about ACOS chasers as people that are like, oh, I was at a I think Brett and I were even at the same conference, and someone said, "What's the right ACOS?" Okay. And I just was like, "All right."
Did you give me your favorite answer? It depends.
Yeah, it depends. But I think I actually saw someone on Twitter recently say, if you have to spend 20% of stuff, that's where you need to be spending. And I just said, why? Well, that's just standard across the board. Why? Why is it standard across the board? Like, what's the reasoning? I said it depends upon your price point. It depends upon your category. It depends upon what your profit margins look like. All that stuff comes into play, and it really does depend. So if someone's just saying this is the blanket standard across the board, how we stylize a listing in the apparel category is probably going to be different than what we're doing in beauty if we're doing our research right. It really does depend.
Yeah, it does. And I think where a lot of I agree with you. The term expert is thrown around so much. And I heard a good quote, and I'm going to be paraphrasing and butchering it. And it wasn't necessarily about Amazon, but just business in general. By the time you start your second, third, fourth business, it's not that you're an expert in business. It's just you've been through the sequence before and you get the pattern recognition. So, Michael, as you've grown, multiple brands and helped them scale, as you go through, 100 brand or so, thousands, and you're like, oh, okay, I know the sequence, I know the pattern.
It's probably closer to maybe 100. We've been very intentional about who we work with, and so I'm not going to say helped. I saw someone's title on LinkedIn last night, and it said helping thousands of businesses over 10 years. And I'm like, I have no idea what you do. I know that you've helped thousands of businesses do something over 10 years.
Consulting calls, then you could say that. I mean, you can do those at volume.
I help general businesses do general things, but that's not what people need. They need specialists, which is why Elizabeth, why you have an agency. And I think it's crazy when people say Amazon is so niche. And I'm like, do you know how? Yeah, it's true compared to the rest of the world, but do you know how big that niche is? There are people that all they do is help you get reimbursements from the money that Amazon should have paid you back already.
There's a joke that Chris Freiberger, a friend of, I know you, Michael, is.
Yes.
If you put Amazon,
he was very close to me, in fact.
Exactly. They're in good old
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right. If you put Amazon at the end of any title that exists in marketing, it's like you have made yourself more attractive than any other job probably in the space right now for a lot of different brands. It could be a brand, it could be an agency, it could be some sort of any retail store. Put Amazon at the end of SEO specialist or SEO Amazon specialist, then you all of a sudden have made yourself a niche of a niche, which is really fascinating. Same thing with Shopify or direct to consumer. or any sort of logistics, if it's any sort of like Amazon specific or e-commerce specific, you made yourself a niche of a niche, which is going to continue to grow. It's continue to evolve. And that's what everyone in this space, if they do their job right and they're still in business, they're continuously learning, they're growing. We all are different than what we were like last year at this time. It's such a fascinating space to be in. And you'll never find somebody who's got it all locked down. That's why a lot of people like us come together and just talk like this for hours or a couple hours now, if it feels like hour plus, I guess.
I could
but
go
it doesn't feel like time.
I could go for 3. I don't know if people would tune in, but I could go for a long time. I also say, to your point, my sales coach and one of my business coaches, and I lean on those people because I don't know and have it all figured out. And I was even saying that this week I met with a business coach of mine here in town, and I'm just talking about some of the issues I'm running into in my organization right now. And he's like, I think you're trying to do too much. And I'm like, and you need to better define things for the people in your organization. I'm like, yeah, that's totally it. And so I felt this huge sense of relief because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to focus on these 5 other things. I'm going to focus on this one thing right now for the next several months. And we're just going to crush it in that area. And we're doing a great job, but I'm like, how can we be better? And I think that's one of the reasons Amazon's been successful, is because they say, all right, cool, we've delivered 2-day shipping. Now we're going to get 1-day shipping and same-day shipping. And my wife ordered something before my daughter's volleyball practice on Wednesday and got it right after at home shipping. So they're constantly trying to say, how can we do something better? And I think that's you have to bring in people that know what they're doing. But my my sales coach told me, to Ryan's point about, being a niche of a niche, he said, who makes more money? A general, and I think this is a good way to quantify, like, you become more valuable when your price is higher. It's just, if people are willing to pay your price, then it means they value that service at a higher rate. And I think you should charge what you're worth. Don't charge minimally, because a lot of times you attract, I think, the wrong people when you're saying, hey, we just, yeah, I'll take you on for this amount because I just want clients. And I've been there before, but I don't think that's what I would recommend. But he's like, who makes more, the general practitioner, the primary care physician, or a specialist? Well, it's a specialist. But why do they make more money? Because they spent additional time training in school. They specialized in their residency, and they've had to do all this additional work. And like, if you've got cancer, you're not going to go see your primary care doctor. He's going to refer you to that specialist because he knows how to treat that specific thing. So if someone's really, like, if someone has, their content and everything buttoned up and what they want is advertising, I'm not going to try and sell them on the services. I'm going to say, go to Elizabeth and do advertising only, because you don't need what we can provide for you. And there are people that sometimes we even turn down, not because we're so exclusive, talking about hundreds, thousands of brands, but I'm just like, I don't know that we're honestly the right fit for you. And I don't want to sell you on something that is not going to work for you.
Yeah. And I think when you get specific, there's also a level of, I think we've all seen maybe the websites or like the LinkedIn tags where it's like, oh, I'm an expert on like Amazon and Walmart and Shopify and drop shipping, and I can help you do all, and you're like, you're one person, it's not even an agency. And you're like, I think any person who's being logical, it understands that the amount of knowledge you have to be able to be any good at any 2 of those things is astronomical and takes a very long time to acquire. So, I mean, I have clients asking me about other services all the time, or people wanting full service management. And I'm like, I probably could go out and do a team. I just know I'm really good at ads. I like ads. So as long as I can survive sticking to my lane, I'll be fine with just partnering with other people. Or it's like, okay, so if you want to learn it yourself, let me go talk to Brett. If you need full service, let's go talk to Michael. Like, so you make connections in the space, and then having places like this where, maybe if someone has a question on ads, I get DMs all the time from people I know in the industry, or like, I'm the bulk file person. So it's like, hey, I'll get people asking like, hey, what's this? And oh yeah, I troubleshot that problem a week ago, and here's the answer to it. You make people in the industry, or make friends with people in the industry who can help fill in those additional pieces. And I think it just all really ends up working together in the long run.
What's the I guess Michael, for your perspective, or I guess for you guys, your all perspective, is there a for everyone who's listening to this, I'm trying to think to phrase this. Is there ever the right questions to ask? Is there what's the right questions to ask when they're coming to like an agency or PPC? I guess a lot of people, I think, are afraid to start asking like how to figure it out, or it takes time to figure things out. What are the right questions that people you think should be asking to see if it's a good fit for you guys, but also for them? Like, you've seen clients of all sizes. What are those questions for a PPC agency or
the number one thing for any, I'm just going to say this across the board, it's expectations.
Yeah.
What is that person that's coming to you? What are their, by the way, this is bonus material, people, because we're only supposed to go an hour, but you're getting bonus material. Talk about secrets on secrets. We got a secret meeting after this secret live conference call, and we're not even going to tell you what the URL is. You just have to guess, because that's how secret it is. But it's expectations. People coming in, one of the questions that I ask is, what does success look like for you? What are your goals for Amazon? I want to be 7-figure. I want to do this. Okay. And then I couple that with an additional question. What do you want to spend on advertising? Well, we really got to see a return. So, probably going to spend $500, $1,000, and we want to make it to 2 million next year. I had someone on a sales call say that, and I said, that's not going to happen. You're not going to see that happen, because you don't see instant profitability on Amazon. It will not be profitable. Okay, well, sure. Right. But you have to get attribution on this is not rocket science, people. This is just how Amazon works. If you want to grow your brand on Amazon, you can go and do this yourself, but people will want other people to do it for them, because they're either better at it or they don't want to spend the time doing it, and they've got the money to be able to do that. I'm not going to do my own books now, because someone else can do it better than me and quicker, more efficiently. And so I'm going to pay them whatever they, $50 an hour. I don't know, pay them whatever they want to be paid for that service. But you can go and do this on your own right now, if you so choose. You have to focus on your category and specific areas in your category, which can get boiled down to keywords. And you have to get enough sales attribution organically or through advertising to get you to actually show up more on the first page, because most people don't go past the first page, and most people are shopping on mobile. And so your search results are much more limited on a mobile phone than they are on a desktop. It goes from 48 results on a desktop to like 30 on your mobile phone. So I think you have to start with expectations, because I can right away say, okay, well, this person has really high expectations. I don't know that we're going to be the right fit. So maybe what I pitch them is a little bit different, and they're like, okay, well, we're not into that. But someone who I know is, hey, we're a small business. We really we'd love to get to like $10,000 a month, and we're willing to put in money, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, this is someone who knows that the market is legit, and they want to be a part of that market.
Mm-hmm. I would echo that for sure. I've had conversations where people, because the thing is with advertising is we do touch sales. Like Milo said, we can put pedal to the metal. We can help rank products through advertising, but advertising is not the only thing that touches sales. There's a lot more things that go into it. So oftentimes what we'll see is, maybe clients will come to us like, oh, my sales are down, so I need the advertising piece. And then it's like, we're like, well, if you look at month over month, your conversion rate has dropped. So maybe you should figure out that first. I can refer you to somebody who does better on listings, and then, we'll come in with the advertising. So again, setting the expectation, especially seeing as we're only the advertising piece to the puzzle. My favorite clients to work with are the ones that come in, they know what the ads can do. They say, I just don't have the time, nor do I have the expertise to keep up with every single new, launch on the platform. Because we had a conversation with a client the other day. They're like, oh, what about this new ad type? I'm like, that's great. We're focused on profitability. We're not launching, brand new advertising types in your account. We tested this on their accounts. We don't see our high ROI, so it doesn't make sense for us to do it right now. Once you hit peak season, let's revisit this. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because we've tested it and we know enough to know, hey, now's not the right time. Where they might have just gone ahead and tested it and it probably wasn't great because we're focused on profitability. So I like clients where I can have those conversations. And then the hardest conversations are I've had before where they'll say like, oh, I want to hit these sales numbers. And you go back and look and you're like, you've never hit these sales numbers historically. In fact, your highest ever sales, which peak Q4, was half of this. And you want me to get there in a month on off season. Like it's just not possible.
Yeah,
So
but I just want to grow, Elizabeth. I just want to grow. Okay.
I'm fine with growth. And I tell clients all the time, I said, if we say it's going to take 30 days, that doesn't mean like sky parts on day 30 and all of a sudden, like what we're looking for is that slow and steady move towards profitability, increased sales, whatever. It's not
progress.
It's progress. You're looking for progress. You don't, it's not like you wait 30 days and all of a sudden, oh yeah, this is working. It's like you can tell in week 2, how what the change trends are.
And if you need to make a change in week 2, you can say, okay, we need to like open up bids more and we need to focus on top of search placement because we know that that's what's going to get the results you want. And I think for me, it's just saying, okay, here's your expectation. Here's what it's going to take. There was someone then they make their decision. I had someone in the middle of the pandemic who said, man, we got these masks and it's like masks like no one else has these masks. And so we can do 2 million, we think, on Amazon. I said, okay, I'll put together projections of what it's going to cost you to do 2 million in the next year on Amazon. And it was going to cost them like $1.5 million. And they were like, we're ready to go right now. And I sent that to them, I've changed our proposal process, but I sent these projections to them. I said, okay, cool. We're at a trade show. We'll get back to you. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, nothing. And I said, hey, just curious if you guys are still interested. I know you were really hot and heavy on this. And they said, they said, oh yeah, we're just gonna have to go to the distribution route or something like that. So I mean, I was like, if you want that, you can get it. It's possible. At what cost?
Right, going back to profitability.
So
you hit those high sales numbers, but
it all comes back to numbers.
All right, that's a great segue into us being quiet and you enjoying the rest of your Friday here on WLWT News 17. Ryan, tell people if they want to find you, where can they find you? Behind a dumpster fire, in the middle of an open field? If someone wanted to know where Ryan Kramer is,
you're describing Indiana very well, man.
Yeah, I know. Everything out here in the Midwest is just cornfields, people.
No, I love Indiana. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The Midwest is great. You guys can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. Just search for Sure Shipping or at Ryan Kramer. We're going to be at the Amazon Accelerate Conference talking about Amazon. Some news that I share with Michael that's going to be exciting. We're announcing there. Tease. And I'll
be there. And I'll be there
we'll
too.
Be there
I'll
for the exciting
whatever VIP party they're hosting. I'm going to make sure I show up.
Amazon, yeah. The dime is on Amazon this time.
Okay.
But good. Yeah, then we'll also be at Helium 10 Sell and Skill conference the week after. So if you happen to catch this and want to talk international expansion, growth, anything about Amazon, feel free to come by and say hi.
Cool. Elizabeth, your turn.
Yes. Yeah. So LinkedIn too. I put out the most content on LinkedIn.
She's measured it.
Huh?
You've measured it. It's the most content.
I have measured it. Everyone gets mad about selfies. Selfies perform the best for me. It's sad.
Hey, if I looked like you, I would put selfies up too.
I try and sprinkle them in. It's not even weekly.
Hey, seriously, whatever works for you. If something works, then use that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so LinkedIn, I post content about Amazon advertising. So if you want to turn in there, I try and post logical, thought-provoking, helpful content.
Not just screenshots of random things in the ad console.
I did post a screenshot yesterday, but I gave you.
But that's rare. That's rare.
Insights.
Yes.
Oh, scribbles.
Awesome. Yeah, and then if you want to learn about working with us, best place is to hit up the website, junglr.com.
Thank you, Brett, Mr. Bohannon.
LinkedIn, Twitter. Starting to get more active on Twitter. It's kind of an interesting place. Definitely different than LinkedIn. But AmazonWithBrett.com. Or sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a long hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, I just hit my teeth on the microphone.
Amazon with Brett amazonwithbrett.com/newsletter if you want to sign up for the newsletter. My goal with that is getting an actual tip out every week. So something that I've found very useful that I've done, or that I've seen very useful that other people have done. Nothing like no emojis. It's just straight bones to, hey, check out this tip and this is how you do it. So amazonwithbrett.com/newsletter.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming on. I genuinely appreciate the conversation, and it was so fun because I'm not worried about what's going to come up because it's all legit stuff. You guys all have great brands. First Choice, Amazon with Brett, Jungler, all those. And I know that the work that you guys are doing is great, and we talk on a regular basis. And so I'm not worried about someone being super showy or self-promoting. I want everyone to get business, and sometimes I lose business to people that I know and that are in the industry, and I'm okay with that because I'm not expecting to be all things to all people. But it's just nice to have quality people to work with who are about solid information. And for me, that's what I try to do with my agency, Cartology, is provide good, solid information, not necessarily being the hype beast, but saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and just hammering it over and over and over because those basics are things that work. And that's what I feel like the Longer Game has been. To Ryan's point, the tens of people that are watching. My goal with this was, I said not to be the biggest thing ever. It was just to provide solid information, and I'm going to continue to promote season 1 well beyond season 1. We've got lots of great tidbits. This episode will go up. What a interesting word, tidbits. We will put this episode up on anywhere that the podcast is. It's a much longer episode than normal, but I think people will enjoy it. And you can go to longergame.com, sign up for that email list and we'll share that with the people on this team here, and we'll get you access to a one-pager about the future of retail. Thanks, guys, for joining us. You can find me behind any dumpster fire. You can find me at the back of a Chick-fil-A, just taking the leftover sandwich meat if they're done.
Waffle fries.
You can find me any ice cream parlor. I'm probably there sampling some flavors, even though I don't really tolerate dairy very well. But I'm also on LinkedIn as well. I'm Michael Marr is my URL, and thelongergame.com. Thank you guys for helping me close this out.
Season 1, man.
Season 1, we did it. I started with Ryan and ended with Ryan.
Wow.
There you go.
And now I'm gonna play us out with music. You ready?
Do it.
Go.
Hey, so I'm just gonna sit here for a second. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. Peace. Oh, look who's still here. Hey. Peace.
Oh.